Minute 38 remaining. They lead by 10 points. It's Fremantle's game to lose here. Sandilands the big fist. Look at that field. Somehow, Walters the interchange bench. And into his hands. Maybe it's Fremantle's game. Walters is on. Hill keeps going. This to Sandilands. He's gone.
Juddy, welcome. Another big week for Dork Talk. Another win on the board. How you going?
Yeah, mate. I'm starting to really enjoy these wins, and I'm getting pretty addicted to them. So if they take them away, I might start withdrawing.
Yeah, it was a great game. Great to watch. Scoreline?
So cracked 100 points, which is pretty awesome for Freo to do, considering the other team also cracked 100 points. So we had to outscore another team that scored 100 points, which you wouldn't at the start of the game. If you said Melbourne scored 100, you'd be like, we lost that game. So what do you reckon?
Yeah, and even more positive was a big scoring quarter. Again, the third quarter, similar to the Bulldogs' fourth. Kicked 7 goals? 7 goals, 4 in that quarter to 3 behinds, which goes a long way.
The goal at the end of the second half, we kicked 8 goals unanswered, so we can pile goals on again, apparently.
Yeah, well, if you kick 7 goals to nothing in any game of football against any team, I think you're going to be a chance.
Yeah, well, we nearly lost it, so yes, you should be a chance, but you're no guarantee, are you, anymore?
Probably before we dive in and pump up the Dockers anymore, we probably should take note of Melbourne's absentees.
Yeah, so I think, I agree. And as when I talk to Mago later on in another hard-hitting interview on Dork Talk, we talk about how some Freo people were, some nuffies were calling up the radio saying how Freo are going to make finals and stuff. And I think getting carried away with it is sort of what put us in the position we were in last year when we were heartbroken when Freo were bad again.
Yeah.
So I think you have to take it at its face value, and Melbourne were vulnerable, but we got the job done against them, which is really, really positive, and it's something we wouldn't have done last year. So we're on the way forward, aren't we?
Yeah, no Smoke and Hogan and no Lewis.
Smoke and Hogan, yeah. It's, he'd be spewing about that one, mate, or coughing it up.
Yeah, well, let's dive into it. What are your major positives from the game?
Big positives to come out of this week and against the Bulldogs was the adversity they had to come through. And I don't mean in terms of injuries or anything like that. We did have an injury in Stephen Hill, but more so that Melbourne didn't let us win that easy. We had to work really hard. And I was talking to Rob Dog, shout out Rob Dog, who we both agreed that it was a blue-collar win. Both of them have been blue-collar wins. We're winning on the back of hard work and then a few little speckled bits of brilliance rather than, Fife kicking 6 goals and, rather than one person dragging us across the line, which is probably what it was in 2014. Yeah. So it's a little bit more spread and team effort, which is, sustainable, more sustainable. But that was one of the major things. What were your opinions on it?
Yeah, well, I agree with that, and I think it's so good to win those games, those tight ones that become so devastating. On the other hand, being on the receiving end of them, to put in such a big effort for Melbourne to come back in the last would have taken a huge effort, and they would walk away being very disappointed. But then you get the flip side for us, and it's just building confidence, especially away at the MCG. There would have been a lot of players there who probably haven't celebrated a victory over there, so it would have been good. I think it's a big plus to go over there and to win a tight game like that is huge.
Particularly with a lot of the younger guys that have come in. I mean, there's the obvious ones of Balek and Logue, but then you look at Wellers and Croziers and those sort of guys. They wouldn't have won at the MCG, probably in their career.
Yeah.
And particularly last year, we had one win at the Gabba and the rest were at home. So a lot of the Blakely's another one. A lot of those younger guys wouldn't have had many wins away, and particularly at the home of football MCG, it's a really, really good. They will come away wrapped with that, and hopefully it gels the team more, and they become, more a bunch of mates rather than them getting ahead of themselves. But I think they look like they're in a good spot like that at the moment. It's a young, enthusiastic team.
Yeah, definitely. I enjoyed the midfielders kicking goals on the weekend. Lockie Neal slotting 4 and Mundy with 3 himself. Where do you reckon that comes from? Because that isn't a big thing for us midfielders kicking a lot of goals, but 7 between Neal and Mundy, pretty impressive.
Well, Mako does touch on Neil a little bit, but without stealing his thunder, I think, firstly, it means that we're a little bit more flexible than we have been before. And we were talking about it last week or the week before. Ross Lyons seems to have a plan B again. Throwing Mundy forward was great, and he had an immediate impact and a sustained impact. And a few of those goals he kicked where he'd spoil and then robe his own ball and snap over his shoulder. He'd be a bit hard to match up on as a tall midfielder, similar to Fife.
Yeah.
And then Neil, for him to take marks and kick goals inside 50 means that we're actually looking to where we're kicking it. One of them was a holding the ball free kick, I think, but he had 3 or 4 marks inside 50. So it means we're lowering the eyes, hitting him up, doing those things that we've been so angry about, with Freo just bombing it high and long to our non-existent tall forward.
Yeah.
So they're good signs, the midfield goals. Obviously, Neil won't kick 4 every week, and he'll be lucky if he kicks 1. Mundy could well spend 50% in the forward line, though. And I think that's a good move.
Yeah.
Wait and see, though.
Did you want to flick through the recruits now, or did you have anything else you wanted to bring up in the game?
Yeah, well, why don't we just segue in? Let's have a chat about the recruits.
Yeah.
So firstly, the recruits, I think Brad Hill, again, another tick, another feather in his bow, basically. Good game, attacking, damaging. I thought Kirsten probably played one of his best games.
Yeah.
He took some marks. He kicked the first goal, which was a nice snap. He was a link-up player and did some good things overhead, but also in the last minute to save the game, he did a big spoil on the wing.
Yeah, it went out.
So he's done some pretty good things in this game, both sides of the ball, which I think for a 20-ish game player, I think people keep thinking we've recruited these guys that have played 150 games and they should be...
How many has Kirsten played?
Played 40 games, yeah, okay, so 40 games.
Yeah.
37 for Geelong. So he's under 50 games, which is not meant. You think you take 50 games just to find your feet in the AFL, basically, 2 seasons worth. So I think people are very harsh on players like him. Probably Brad Hill's the only one you want an immediate impact out of, and he's given us that.
Yeah.
And Hamling is has he played 20 games? He came in mid-season, so
yeah,
I dare say he's probably under 20. So I think Hamling was serviceable again. He's a fullback. We can't expect him to get 20 touches every week. He did some good things, some desperate things. And then your man Cam Mack, old Rickety Cricket.
Yeah, and looking at the recruits, I was a big fan of C-Mac on the weekend, kicking 2 goals, 20 disposals, and he gained something like 500 metres, which I think was a couple of hundred ahead of the next best.
500 is huge. So in those games where Dangerfield goes mental, he gets like 400 or 500. So that's a huge metres gain, which means there was a big impact on the game probably as well.
And it still looked like he's got plenty of room to improve. Like he missed some opportunities and maybe could have been cleaner in the contest, but he was always around, and I just love how he keeps presenting and coming up and just keeps getting involved in the game. Like he never seems to... He's always in the action, which I think it's important to find the football, and then he's obviously going to get better.
Yeah, I read an article saying how he's never had much more fun playing footy. So I think he's got a balance going now, it seems, or whatever that means for him. So we should expect him to sort of really week by week improvements, which he's shown already over the last couple, which is really quite good. A couple of little things I wanted to talk about before we move on to other popular segments. So some moments in the game I thought really stood out to me, and they were legitimate moments. They weren't like passages of play or anything, but in the first quarter, towards the end of the first quarter, I think we were under a little bit of siege, and Fife did that diving smother.
Yep.
And that just summed up that he's not just about the high marks and stuff like that. I think if he does that, those sort of acts week to week, the players will get around him, even if he's a dickhead, which all the rumours are he's a dickhead.
Yeah.
But you watch your captain put their body on the line like that, and no way you don't lift from that. We did come out in the second quarter and stink it up a bit, but those sort of things I think are really, really important.
And he took that great mark going back with the flight.
Yeah, he took 2 of them, didn't he?
Yeah.
So I think body on the line, 3 acts from Fife was really quite good. But a few guys that really sort of stood out that didn't take the next step. I thought Hughes did some good things late, desperation-wise, but I think he's still got a way to come before he's AFL standard in disposal and how clean he is with the ball. So, I don't know. I don't mind him too much if he keeps getting games, but he's definitely someone that's not getting played purely out of earning a spot. Crozier was really good. Not him. Sheridan. Sheridan really annoys me, and it's not just his hair. He turns it over. He does silly things. He's kicking. He should be really skillful, and it might be just that he's under the pump, and he sort of probably feels that his spot's under threat. But he disappoints me so much. I don't really like watching him play.
Yeah, he could be a possibly in-out player for the remainder of the season.
And old mate Ibo. Ibo was pretty stinky on the weekend too, which is good that we won still. But if, say, Hogan had been standing there and Ibo was mounting up Hogan, I think it could have been a different story. So,
Big Smokin' Joe Hogan.
Yeah, Smokin' Joe Hogan is a great nickname. But yeah, so I think there's possibly 3 changes. I dare say Hughes and Sheridan will stay in, but Ibbotson fits that age range of, like, Collins could come in for him.
Yeah.
And Collins has been playing pretty well at Waffle. The other guy that's still putting his case forward is Darcy Tucker, who's been playing well. Funnily enough, Sean Darcy, big boy Sean Darcy, Sean DePaul, got 2 disposals on the weekend. All right, shall we move along to our couple of favourite segments? So, reverse fantasy.
Yeah, let's dive in. Finally worked.
A much more successful week in reverse fantasy this week.
Depending on who you are.
Pardon?
Depending on who you are.
Well, successful in terms of we had the correct amount of players play on each team.
Yeah.
So successful in the format, but also successful if in me. So Juddy takes out his second one in a row, so 2 in a row. So the final score was 155 to 137, with me having Nathan Brown from St Kilda, Sam Rowe and Daniel Talia all playing and getting around the 50 mark, and you having Tony Lemons from the Gold Coast scoring 77 real points, meaning he only gets 33 reverse points. Really hurt you there. Rant good for you with 40, so 60 points. But, mate, Brett Heady still decent, so I reckon we can do a bit of a redraft here. So I'm going to drop Hunt out of my team, Taylor Hunt, and I'm going to pick up, I keep wanting to think his name's Nick Jonas, but I think it's Tom Jonas from Port Adelaide.
Well, I'm going to drop old Heady.
Brett Heady, yeah.
Yeah, and run the risk, even though it's only a Tuesday, I think Vickery's going to play this week.
Yeah, Vickery's not a bad one, actually.
Yeah, and I love all the memes about him. Big fan of Vickery.
Yeah, I think the whole thing when he was a late out and they were like, oh, Hawthorn definitely going to win now, that was pretty funny. You had to, like, even he would probably laugh at that. Actually, no, it's pretty mean, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, all right, we got fantasy out of the way. Should we move to the Ruffy Club?
Yeah, yes. So the Jared Ruffy Club, very successful again, may I say. So we're, considering we've laid 4 Ruffy bets and we've won 2 out of the 4, this is pretty good. It's almost like we should start our own punt club to do it. But anyway, so Sydney, unfortunately, who you picked, went down. And they didn't look too bad until the last quarter and then they got pumped. But Sydney at 290 went down, so that's a loss for you. So you're 1-1. And I, being the loyal supporter that I am, picked up Rio at $3.18. I also backed this with real money of my own and got a big win out of that. So that's looking pretty good. Should we have a look at the forecast for this week in terms of the Rugby Club?
This
Who are you looking at?
Well, this week's a tighter round. The odds seem to be evening out the longer the season goes. I kind of want to back Sydney again because I think it's just going to it has to happen. I'm not backing Hawks anymore. I think Hawks are cooked. They're done. They're not going to get up over West Coast this week. Sydney paying $2.75 at home against GWS. It's like one of those derby games. I think they're turning into proper true showdown derby games where it can go either way regardless of form.
Yeah, no, I think so.
So, and that seems to be the only one. You could almost, Carlton paying $6.05. Not feeling that. Gold Coast at 4. I think to me it's Sydney again. I'm going to back them in for 2 weeks in a row, pretty much because it's eventually they got to.
Yeah, no, that's not too bad. I have looked at that game as well. I'm really tempted by Brisbane. That's a huge market. So Brisbane are still paying $3 with a 24.5 head start, $8.50 head to head. But I can't do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get back on the Saints because I think Geelong are so ready to lose. The Saints in Melbourne, not out in Geelong, at $2.85. And I'm hoping that the Saint Nick can get us going and get us some money.
Yeah.
$2.85. All right. So Sydney again, mate, $2.75.
Please.
That'll be a good game, I think. Better than the odds and the ladder suggests, but I wouldn't be confident tipping that though.
No.
But when you're trying to win the roughie, I guess you got to let it ride, mate.
Good news this week. Docker's going in favourites.
Yeah, I don't like that one bit, by the way. Do not like that one bit.
I'm still a bit tainted by North Melbourne travelling over here. I don't know if it was 2 years ago. It could have even been 3 when they came over maybe on a Friday night.
Yeah, knocked us off. I remember that.
I think we were 8. We were on a roll.
So you're thinking of Richmond that came over on a Friday night on our...
No, but North did it as well.
Yeah, North did do it too. North, I'm very wary of North Melbourne as a team because they've been very close at knocking off some okay teams.
Yeah.
However, you'd have to think after we backed up in harder circumstances, albeit the team we played last week, Melbourne, were vulnerable. We had to go to Melbourne to the MCG in a hostile crowd, although only 4 people rocked up to support Melbourne because they were all down at Mornington Peninsula or whatever. Because they're all toffs, mate. They're the Eagles supporters of bloody Melbourne. So we backed up that effort, and I think that's the really important thing. So can we back up that effort a third time in a row? And I think if we play somewhere near where we played last week and the week before, particularly, those good patches of play, and clean up a few of those things in our lesser patches, then we should... $1.50 is probably fair.
Nah, not... North. I would consider North and Freo to be in a similar position of the ladder when the season comes to an end. Same as Melbourne. They're going to be... I think we're all going to be thereabouts. So... North have got it in them to beat us, and especially they've definitely been more consistent this year. They still have some very good players in their team, like Higgins. He's been dominating. So I'm also worried, but if we can produce similar consistent football, we're definite chance.
Yeah, I think so. I think, again, it's more down to how we play. I think we said this last week. It's more down to how we play rather than, we know North Melbourne will probably bring, a certain standard. And if we come out and we're half asleep and we're missing targets and we're not playing with that same intensity, then, I think, the Willetton thirds could beat us.
Yep.
But if we come out and play well, then we look just $1 million. And I don't say that lightly. We looked really good in that third quarter in a lot of pieces of play. So I think that's sort of probably our key. I'm a little bit concerned about guys like Zeeble because he crunches some people, man, and I'm a bit worried he's going to go and crunch someone. So on the weekend we had 2 or 3 big hits. Did you see Big Jared Cloakey get hit by Zeeble?
Yep.
So Jason Cloak got hit. That wasn't Jason Cloak. What am I saying?
Travis.
Jason Cloak was his brother and used to double fist it. Travis Cloak got crunched, and Travis Cloak is a gorilla. Like, he is huge. Got crunched and probably won't play for 4 weeks.
He got hit in the duodenum. So to summarise your prediction, confident-ish in Fremantle, but worried that Zeebel's going to smoke someone.
Like Sandy. I'm worried that he's going to come up against Sandy and Sandy will come off second best. But yeah, be very wary of the wounded Roo, as they say.
Very excited at the prospect to be 3-2, though.
Oh, well, yeah, who would have thought?
3-2 and rolling into a derby.
Yeah, exactly. And Eagles haven't looked overly convincing if we're moving ahead to looking just very briefly at the derby. Shaping up to be back to a good derby.
Well, yeah, and it's one of those, I think, same as what I spoke about before, is like the showdown, and what are they called? The Battle of the Bridge?
Yes,
it doesn't quite matter the position on the ladder. It's one of those games that can go either way regardless.
Yeah, so that'll be a good game too. And we don't have to leave Perth for a while, which is pretty sweet.
Definitely. Speaking of leaving Perth and coming home, big return this weekend.
Well, speaking of returning to Perth, yeah. So getting to watch my first live game first live Dockers game since I don't know when, actually. Would have been last season, sometime mid-season. So really looking forward to it. I get to see a couple in a row. I get to see the MCG versus Richmond coming up in a few weeks' time, which I'm a lot more confident about now than I was 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, back to, you'll probably hear me if you're listening. I'll be yelling pretty loud.
I think a few of our listeners will be there with us.
Yeah, well, all 4 of them. And I'm including you and me in that, so all 2 external listeners and Mago. That's 3.
Well, have you got anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, mate. I think we can probably reconvene in a few days' time after the game on the Saturday night, and maybe on Sunday when we're a bit hung dog millionaire, we can discuss how good or bad we are.
Oh, definitely. Look forward to it, Juddy. Look forward to the game and look forward to seeing you.
Very much, mate. All right, I will speak to you later, monkey.
Goodbye.